ending 1 minute at a time.
I was blind, but now I see.
Working jobs we hate, so we buy shit we don't need.
Ideas are brittle.
If you had one shot, everything I'd ever read, heard, seen was now organized and available.
Now you fucking khakis.
Life moves pretty fast.
The Biohacking Secret Show.
Dr. Olli Sovijärvi is one of the pioneers of holistic medicine in Finland. In 2010 and 2011, he completed an integral theory degree in John F. Kennedy University. He is the CEO of the Biohacker Center and the head author of the Biohacker's Handbook. At present, Sovijärvi focuses primarily on the production of scientific content for preventative healthcare and well-being. Dr. Olli, welcome to the Biohacking Secret Show.
Hey, thanks, Anthony. It's great to be here. Great to see your face, your laugh, your energy.
Great to see you as well.
Always a pleasure.
Yes, likewise. You're one of my favorite biohackers, and we had the pleasure of meeting in person in 2016 at your Biohacker Summit in Helsinki,
Indeed.
Finland. Just an amazing event, and then we got to reconnect briefly this past year. It's an event that I've had the pleasure of speaking at twice. Met a ton of amazing people from all over the world, many of which I still stay in touch with today, and this is just a growing community where it's fantastic for all of us to be able to learn from one another, and I'm excited to go down the rabbit hole with you.
Indeed, let's go. So it's kind of it's a tribe, it's a family. It is beyond any borders, beyond any race, beyond any color, beyond any ego stuff. So it's connecting us.
Yes, I agree. How did you get into medicine, biohacking? Which came first, and how did the two co-evolve to where you are today?
That's a good question. When I think back, so I was kind of a biohacker like 25 years ago already, because I was interested in nutrition. I used to cook actually my own meals when I was 15 years old. And a little later, I became like weight training, and I was very interested in supplements. And I think creatine was kind of a new thing back then, whey protein and stuff like that. So of course the diet was was kind of heavily carb loaded, and cereals and milk and protein and stuff. And after that actually became the route to medicine in 2000. From 2000 to 2006, I graduated in Helsinki University Medical School, and I kind of went away from the biohacking route just to go through the loop to realize that actually the preventive health and the keeping yourself healthy, taking care of your body via sleep, exercise, nutrition, stress management, recovery, and so on was actually the key. So I went to the extremes in terms of medical practice. Like I had this 5-year period where I pushed my limits, having at worst like 100 hours of working per week. Actually, 1 week I was in 7 different cities, because I used to do this mobile work where I was on call like 24/7. So I was kind of a guy that I got called in if some doctor was sick, and I went to replace him or her. So that actually put me into a situation of being overtrained, exhausted. And I had quite a few years to get myself back on track. So, and still, I can still feel the effects of being sleep deprived for maybe 10 years or so. So here we are.
This seems to be a pattern with many students in medical school. I've learned just from firsthand conversations, we have a lot of men and women in our program who are practicing physicians, and that not only the demands that are placed in order for them to get their medical degree they're very extreme, and in confidence, many physicians sort of confided in me that they've had to rely on either copious amounts of caffeine or even prescription stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin because to feel like they're even keeping up. And and it's a little bit of ironic that it's selfless, but it's also ironic that these demands are so high that they can come at the cost of your own health in order to get to a position that you can help other people with your health.
Indeed.
And so how, let's say, I think everyone can relate to having a lot on their plate. When you realized that your body needed to recover, that you had to restore that homeostasis, what changes did you make, and how did you keep up with the responsibilities that you now had, other people's lives in your hands, writing books while recovering and getting your body back into balance?
Yeah, so it didn't happen like this. So it was incrementally, like piece by piece, learning more, trying different kind of things on myself. But of course, the first thing that I fixed was sleep. I used to sleep like 5.5 hours per night back like 10 years back. And of course, that wasn't enough. I used to have some naps. I was training like 6-7 times per week. So I was basically overtrained all the time. I didn't realize that my sympathetic nervous system was so like exhausted and like being like activated all the time. So already back in 2007, I purchased this Swedish spike mat, this kind of yoga mat with like this long spikes. I still have it. I still use it every night. And that was kind of like a whoa experience because of the endorphins, the oxytocin. So it made me actually fall asleep a lot easier. I discovered Eckhart Tolle's meditations like 2007, and I began using these on a nightly basis, like every night. So I teach myself how to actually feel the body because I had no real good connection to my body. So the inner body meditations that he had there were like a savior to me. So I became accustomed to my body. Then began a relentless fixing of my physical stiffness and all the aches and stuff. I had pains in my body, so like physiotherapy. Then began like acupuncture, osteopathic treatments, manual therapies, and so on. And I still use them on a monthly basis, like all of these. What else? Fixing my diet, of course, was when I discovered that maybe milk products were not that of a good thing for me. Maybe switching from cereals, grains, sugars, and all the pain actually went away with these kind of changes. And I used to have this nagging knee pain when I drove to a next ER place. So when I was sitting in the car after like 15 minutes, the pain was almost intolerable. But after 2 days of quitting grains and milk products, it went away. And I realized I had some sensitivities, and for my genetic makeup, in Finland we are like the most closest ones to European hunter-gatherers. So our genome is very close to them, and they definitely didn't eat any grains and milks and stuff like that. We ate like wild game, berries, mushrooms, some tubers, roots. So that's how my diet is at today. So piece by piece, reducing the amount and volume and frequency of training, getting more into recovery. Then became like biohacking. I discovered like Dave Asprey, then the Paleo Solution podcast by Rob Wolf, Chris Kresser, then Ben Greenfield, which I'm a good friend of now, and a lot of good stuff there. Then I met Teemu in 2013, and we decided let's make a human body manual. So that's the Biohacker's Handbook.
I love it. And
So
you
here we
guys,
are.
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of gems there, especially I can relate to much of that. You know, it's easy to find yourself where you're burning the candle at both ends. And like, for some of you guys listening to this episode, if you go way back to some of the first episodes we did of the Biohacking Secrets Show, I remember doing some of those podcasts in almost a state of delirium because I was trying to write the Biohacker's Guide, and then I was training clients and coaching all day and sleeping 4 or 5 hours, like you mentioned. And you don't. What starts to happen is you don't even realize how suboptimal your performance has become and how many mistakes you're making. You know, you look back at some of the things, I would look back at some of the things I typed, or I'd listen to some of those episodes, and it would be clear that I was like barely hanging on, you know, but at the time I thought that was the only solution. Did you hit a rock bottom, or what was the moment that you realized you needed to start prioritizing sleep, and that, you know, the couple hours that you would quote unquote give up of consciousness would pay dividends, and you know that it was worth dedicating a little bit more time to rest and recovery?
Yeah, I actually have a good story about this because it was kind of a epic moment of collapse. So I think that
sometimes we need that, right?
we certainly do. When you like hit your head to the wall, like too long, you start to feel it. But I think it was 2009 or 10. I had to wake up at 5 a.m. Then I had to drive 3 hours to a city called Lappeenranta in Finland, eastern Finland. Then I had an 8-hour shift there, and I think I saw like 50 patients. And then I thought that, okay, now I can drive home and get some rest. But as soon as the shift ended, it was like 4 p.m., I got a call that actually you need to drive to Hamina, which is another city about an hour away from that city, for the evening and for the night. And then I was like, oh, fuck, by the way, fuck that shit. I'm not going anywhere. And then I was like shouting, and I'm like, you know, I totally lost it. So that was it. I quit. So that was it. I quit. I drove home. I quit that.
Yeah.
So
it was like you just had enough, and you drew a line in the sand. You said no more.
After 5 years of pressure, I've totally had enough. So brings on some memories. So and that was the culmination point to really switch the gear, really get into more sleep. Actually, the issue was that I wasn't lying on bed. Maybe it's just like maximum of 7 hours. Mm-hmm. And of that, I slept like 5 hours. So you need to be in bed for at least 10 hours to get like 8 hours, like really good solid sleep.
Right.
So yeah. So that was the first.
Yeah, the Oura Ring's been helpful, I think, for a lot of people to there we go. There it is. Yeah. He's wearing it. I've got a bunch of regular rings at the moment. I don't have the Oura Ring on, but I use it when I'm doing, you know, sort of sleep studies and tests to see what I can do to maximize deep and REM sleep. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things that have helped you get better quality sleep in less time, because I think, you know, we're going to kind of dovetail into optimizing your day and some of the things that you guys cover in the Biohacker's Handbook. And guys, if you don't have a copy of the Biohacker's Handbook, you need to get it. You need to pick up a copy of Boundless, and I'm sure a lot of you guys have the Biohacker's Guide, but these are 3 books that are like encyclopedias and reference guides for different aspects of mind, body, spirit optimization. And the Biohacker's Handbook it's gold. How many pages is is the Biohacker's Handbook?
It's
500 plus, right?
554, as if I recall like correctly. So
554 pages, incredible visuals and diagrams, and a lot of research. Everything is backed by scientific studies.
There's over 1,500 references. So it's every sentence that there is any claim of anything is backed with the reference. So
yeah, just fantastic. And you guys can pick that up at biohackercenter.com. I'm a big believer that your morning and you know how you feel when you wake up actually starts when you decide to go to bed. You know,
Indeed.
And if you want to get even more specific, it's kind of when you cut yourself off from food because of the impact that can have on your quality of sleep. So it starts the night before. And so for us to start talking about optimizing your day, I think we need to talk about how you optimize your sleep and really get the most deep and REM sleep and the highest quality sleep in an adequate amount of time. So what are some of the things that you've found helpful for you? And that are also backed by scientific research.
Indeed, yeah. So I have strict like morning routines and evening routines. So usually now it's 10 p.m. here. So usually I'm not in bright lights and I'm not doing any work. But I appreciate the sacrifice, as do our listeners. Yes, thank you. Yeah, but what I do in the evenings, I eat dinner usually at 8. About 8 p.m. or could be 7 p.m. Before that, I go to infrared sauna to get a little sweat for about 30 minutes. And I finish off with the cold shower, just, 1 to 2 minutes, nothing like extreme. When I've eaten, I usually actually like to watch some NBA basketball because that's kind of like I really enjoy it and it gets my mind off. So if I'm not eating with my family on a table, so I might watch some NBA basketball, and it's putting me into a relaxed state. After finishing the meal, I use this Finnish Neurosonic whole body low level vibration device. So I have this divan, kind of like a sofa, but it's formed very well. So it's a low level vibration therapy for the whole body. You guys had this at the Biohacker Summit, right? Yeah. Ah, that thing's great. Amazing. So I use it every single evening. So I have a 41-minute recovery program. And at the same time, I use this blue light, the infrared intranasal blue light, just to get a little alpha and also the infrared for the brain. And it chills me out very well. So these in combination. After that, I take a 16-minute program with the Beamer PMF device. So it's a microcirculation stimulation device, and that's amazing for recovery. Yeah, go ahead. Are you just kind of relaxing? Are you listening to podcasts? Are you meditating? What's happening while you're on these things? Good one. So it kind of depends. Usually, that's the only time I use social media, like usually. So I might check Instagram messages and the feed. I don't use Facebook for anything. So that's usually the time. I might watch a little bit of YouTube. So like I'm totally geeking out on NBA and also Formula Ones. So that's my two hobbies. What was the second one? Formula One. Formula One. Racing, yeah. Oh, yeah, nice. Okay, cool. Very cool. And yeah, then, I know everything about it at the moment. No kidding. I know nothing about it, but it's the little bit I've seen is quite entertaining. Yeah, I might listen to a podcast or not, but lately I've been feeling that I don't want to be like stimulating too much my brain. Mm-hmm. I usually do the meditation after these devices. So then I go to the bedroom, I lie on a spike mat, the Swedish spike mat for endorphins and oxytocin. Then I do a meditation. But lately I've been actually doing double meditations, like 2 45-minute meditations while lying on the Neurosonic device and also lying on the spike mat. So I've been meditating like 1.5 hours per every evening. So that's been a major shift to my consciousness. Yeah.
I was going to ask. Yeah. What have you noticed from that?
I'm 100% present all the time. All the time. The stream of thoughts is it's very little. So the stream of these unnecessary thought patterns.
Chatter.
Yeah, kind of like blah, blah, blah. It's almost non-existent. And I can go into very deep states very rapidly. So, for example, before this podcast interview, I was just sitting on a chair for a few minutes. I went very deep, like super deep.
Yeah.
Actually so deep that I had to kind of like wake me up. So where I actually am. So, so it has taught me to get really deep quite quickly into deep meditative states.
This is fascinating because I've also noticed that when I'm consistently getting at least 15 minutes, but more is better, and I'm staying on it 6 days a week or 7 days a week, after 2 or 3 weeks, I start feeling almost like I am tapping into I don't want to say a different realm, but almost like I can see things before they happen, or I'll pass someone on the street and I'll almost know exactly what they're thinking, even though no verbal words were exchanged. And I almost want to ask them if they were thinking that, because it feels so viscerally true. And yet it's the most challenging thing for me to make time for in my day. Even just now, I was outside, I did a little bit of weights, and then I did I went for a run, and then I jumped in the sauna and I meditated for 20 minutes while I was in the sauna, and I did a cold shower and came down. But I had to, I was listening to a podcast, and I had to turn it off and set the timer for 20 minutes, to ensure that I meditated, but I feel the resistance. Every time I feel the resistance where I want to keep listening to the podcast.
I want to be doing this.
I want the chatter. I want the distraction. Do you experience that, or is that just me? I've been meditating since at least 2013, 2012, and I still have that. The same way I still have it, when I'm getting in the cold shower. At first, I'm like, am I really going to do this? And then, and then I do it, but I still have it. I'm like, I keep waiting for it to go away, and it doesn't go away in either of those areas.
Yeah, I think it's kind of also a personality type. It's type of it's one on the one thing. It's type of your brain structure and how the networks are built. Mm-hmm. So. I know that's kind of a personal, and on the other hand, you can totally train it, and it's often about habits. But of course, I get into these kind of situations if I have too much stimulation, too much going on. Yeah. So, for example, my daughter she's a little over 4.5 years, and she talks a lot all the time. And I was like, shut up, with a friendly voice, like, please be quiet for a while. Okay, so if I have too much especially auditory stimulation, then it might be harder in that sense. But for resistance, I know exactly what you mean, but when you repeat, the resistance becomes less and less. Mm-hmm. So that's how you build then new neural networks in the brain for this kind of habit.
Beautiful. Did you ever experience anxiety?
Sure.
Yes, because I feel a lot. Yes. And how has that been? How has the anxiety been impacted by your meditation practice?
Definitely helped a lot, especially back in the 2006, 2007 and onwards. So I was kind of anxious all the time, mm-hmm. because I had too much on my plate. I couldn't really relax. I couldn't sleep that well. So that was basically the sympathetic nervous system activation all the time. Mm-hmm. So for me, the anxiousness has always got to do with the balance of the autonomic nervous system. Yeah. So when you train your parasympathetic tone and you get into that mode more easily, the anxiety is also lower. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say like the baseline anxiety level has dropped dramatically, and now it's at some days it's 0, so it's I don't feel it at all. So which is good. Of course, everybody feels anxiety, and it's a normal part of life. It gets you further. It drives on different kind of things. It shows what kind of shadows you have to work on and fears and stuff like that. So.
Yeah. What if there for one of our listeners that may be dealing with anxiety right now, but has dabbled in meditation, not really stuck to it long term, what would your advice be?
You can also accompany with supplementation. So I've found really good, amazing supplementation. I sound like almost like Trump. Amazing, the best supplementation.
It's tremendous.
This is the best. This is the best pill you can take.
It's just a fantastic supplement stack. You got to try it. It's gonna help your neurotransmitters. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, but what worked for me are glycine, taurine, and L-theanine. Those 3 are my top 3 in terms of anxiety. And glycine, taurine, L-theanine.
Glycine, taurine, L-theanine. I've responded very well to L-theanine and taurine for sure. I haven't done too much with glycine. Did you do anything like there's the Braverman test where he kind of tells you which type of neurotransmitter is dominant in you and which type is deficient? Did you do anything like that in order to hone in on those, or was it a little bit of trial and error experimentation? You knew you were a little bit excitatory, so you attended towards the calming neurotransmitters, the inhibitory ones.
I did that test. I think it was 2014 when I first discovered that. So it's a questionnaire test, and based on that, you get your profile on basically all the 4 basic neurotransmitters. So I'm acetylcholine dominant, and that's my driving force. I'm definitely deficient in GABA, so that's why these taurine, glycine, L-theanine work so well, and I need to upregulate or up my GABA levels. With different kind of things. Dopamine is pretty high, but I might get overburned with dopamine as well.
Just always pushing to achieve and get more done. And beautiful.
I'm kind of balanced with serotonin, so that's I noticed that if I eat too high serotonin foods, I don't feel good.
Interesting. So what were some of the foods that had that effect on you?
All the fruits, almost all fruits, carbs.
Yep. Okay. Beautiful.
Basically carbs.
and to kind of round out the sleep, and then we're going to get into some of your practices for optimizing your day. Are you
actually? I want to mention that I've wrote this epic, massive article on how to biohack and optimize your deep sleep. So it's like 40 pages with 200 references. So the story goes like this, that about 1.5 years ago, I sent my Aura data to Ben Greenfield with deep sleep amount of 2 hours, 50 minutes. And he was like, Jesus, how did you do it, mate? And I said, okay, here are things I do. And I sent him this big list. And then he was like, why don't you write an article and we release it in his site? So that's what I did. And it's massive. So there's all the possible hacks backed up with science, how you can optimize and increase your deep sleep. So I've been increasing my deep sleep in 3 years from 1 hour and 5 minutes to 2 hours and 11 minutes on average.
No kidding. Well, let's have a little bit of fun with this, because let's go down this rabbit hole, as they say. What a lot of people who have the Oura Ring have noticed is that, or what I've observed too, in looking at a lot of sleep data, is that it seems like people either struggle with REM sleep or deep sleep. It's kind of like one or the other. And I was on the deep sleep side, and it took a while for me to kind of hack it. What were some of the things that, and I'm trying to pull up the note of the things that I've found have had the biggest positive effect. I've got it somewhere here in Evernote, but while I dig that up, why don't you share some of the things, and then we can kind of point people to that. The article's on Ben Greenfield's site.
Yeah. It's on there. It's also on Biohacker Summit side, which is actually under construction, the blog site. So you can easily get it from the bengreenfield.com. And if you Google like deep sleep optimization and my name, so.
Okay, beautiful. So Olli, Olli, Sovijärvi, and then deep sleep optimization. Here we go. I found it. I'll kind of get us started, and then I'd be interested to see what you've got. This is also fun. So like, guys, if you have the Oura Ring, this is, for those of you that aren't familiar, it's a ring that measures the amount of time that you're awake, the amount of time you're in REM sleep, light sleep, and deep sleep. And like the rough distribution that you'd want to look for, awake time should be about 1 to 5%. REM sleep should be about 20 to 25%. Light sleep should be about 50 to 55%, and deep sleep should be about 15 to 20%. And like some of the notes that I have, and I'm sure you're going to crush this and blow it out of the water, but no food 3 hours before bed was a big one. Taking, for many people, finding the right combination of L-ornithine, 5-HTP, which is a serotonin precursor. This depends on your neurotransmitter type as well, and even like a microdose of melatonin, anywhere from 300 to 900 micrograms of timed release melatonin can help. For certain people, depending on where they're at, transcranial direct current stimulation. I use the Soda Biotuner sometimes. That had a big impact for me, and exercise. Exercise and cold thermogenesis. The most deep sleep I ever got was after freezing cold plunges in Lake Michigan and Finland, like that. Those nights, my deep sleep would be through the roof. But I want to kind of get the ball rolling so that you can kind of take it away. What have you found, and what are some of the things in your article, just to kind of give a cliff notes?
So the article goes into all the sleep basics, the sleep physiology, the sleep phases that you mentioned here briefly, and how the melatonin affects the basic physiology. So that's why I'm wearing these blue light blockers. Of course, I'm having like two spotlights, and it's evening, but I've been using these maybe 6 years. So I put on these like 2 hours before going to bed, or even earlier, just to prime the body to produce the natural melatonin. So you need to get darkness. So this is the absolute basic stuff you need to do. Like start from this, switch off greens, or turn them like into red light, and where it is. Yeah. The things I mentioned are, of course, biohacks, the neurosonic device, the PEMF, but I found that they help tremendously. So after I began using the neurosonic, in a month, the deep sleep jumped, like maybe half an hour per night. So on the supplement side, for me, the perfect one is a combination of magnesium glycinate, magnesium taurate, magnesium malate. So it's kind of like triple magnesium, and I take a lot of magnesium. So,
me too, a ton.
At least 10 milligrams per kilogram of body weight.
Are you using the Bioptimizers Mag Breakthrough? They're like 7 blend, or
I had one bottle of that. I like that, but I'm using this Finnish Puhdistamo triple magnesium, which is absolutely dope. So so that's, I think, take 10 capsules, and it's 900 milligrams. So I take it every night.
Beautiful.
And a lot of taurine, like 3 grams of taurine, 6 grams of glycine, and 20 grams of essential amino acids. So I found when I added that was one of the key factors to even eat more amino acids, essential amino acids. So you have building blocks for neurotransmitters, for growth hormone production, for the repair of your tissue, producing new proteins, enzymes, you name it.
This episode of the Biohacking Secrets Show is brought to you by Veritas Farms and their full line of CBD products, CBD standing for cannabidiol. Now, we are real excited about this partnership because Veritas means truth in Latin, and we are big believers in bringing you guys the truth, not just through this podcast, but by making sure that any products that we share or that we bring on as sponsors are products that we personally use, believe in, and endorse ourselves. And that is the case with Veritas Farms and their full line of CBD products. The reason that they're so great, they are full spectrum hemp products, meaning that they have all of the beneficial phytonutrients that you get in a quality CBD product. 99% of the CBD products on the market are CBD isolate, and they're just being resold, meaning they're coming from a few small manufacturers. They've only got one tiny part of all of the important phytonutrients that you need to get the benefits you want from a CBD product, and they're just a bunch of different companies reselling them. Veritas Farms is vertically integrated, meaning they own the farm. They ensure that there are no pesticides being added. It's organic, and then they control the entire process from harvesting to extraction until that product ends up at your door. That's what I love it. It's kind of like farm to table, but for CBD. And the benefits that I've noticed, my sleep is better. I feel like I get a deeper, more restful night's sleep. I'm less stressed. I never have periods of anxiety. I feel calm and focused throughout the day. And it even decreases inflammation when I have flights or other things where inflammation is an inevitable part of life. You take a little extra CBD and it can be very helpful for stress, anxiety, sleep, and that inflammation. So if you guys want to check it out, we've arranged a 15% discount for you guys. To get that, you can go to theveritasfarms.com/biohacks. I'll spell it out. THEVERITASFARMS.com/BIOHACKS to save 15%. Check out the Veritas Farms CBD. You guys are going to absolutely love it.
That's fascinating. And the timing of that, you take those before bed?
Yeah.
So most people listening that are taking amino acids are probably taking them pre-workout, or if if they're fasting but trying to prevent cachexia or muscle
I do
loss.
that too. I do it pre-workout and before sleep. Mm-hmm. So on the days I work out, I take usually about 40 grams, so which is quite a bit. Yeah. But I've noticed that it increases the deep sleep. It overall improves my recovery. So in terms of recovery, the essential aminos are, I would say, number one.
Fantastic. Is there a brand you like? I mean, I've got some perfect aminos over there. That's usually what I'll take when I'm taking it. Is there one that you found works better for you?
I have two Finnish brands, so I don't think it will tell a lot to your audience. So right. It's from NutriWorks. It's a powder. It also has some citrulline malate, mm-hmm. which I really like, and the taste is really nice. And it has dropped off the histidine, which is actually kind of like it's debatable if it's an essential amino acid or not, but it might increase the histamine production. And based on the research, it's not really helping in any terms of recovery. So it's I really like that combination. And these two products that I use are natural. So there are no like sweeteners, no fillers, just pure amino acids.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, I had an interesting podcast with Dr. John Lawrence a few weeks back, and he has a suppository that contains 200 milligrams of melatonin. And I asked him 200. Now, when a lot of people that are doing pioneering work in cancer oncology, they're using 60 plus milligrams of melatonin, and in his case 200. He's seen reversals with neurodegenerative disease, a lot of chronic quote unquote incurable conditions with this super high dose melatonin, and we talked, and he's quite convinced that there's no negative feedback loop with the melatonin pathway. Do you have any opinion on that? I'd be interested.
Yeah. So I think about 6 months ago, I take a dig or a dive into the research on melatonin, and I was like blown away about how pluripotential the molecule is. So it definitely has some like real science backed, definitely on like treating different kind of diseases and cancers and stuff like that. So, but my therapeutic approach is at the moment non-existent because I'm not treating any patients, and that would be like off-label use for melatonin. But I'm aware of it like biochemical effects on like cancer and inflammation and also the immune system. So I like the microdosing of melatonin, so like 0.1 milligrams or 100 micrograms or 150 micrograms, and that works really well. But I could imagine that with doses like this high, you would get a really nice DMT activation in your brain because it's very close to the natural DMT molecule that's produced in the pineal gland.
Yeah.
So, the higher doses of melatonin give me like really lucid stuff in dreams.
I've been enjoying some interesting dreams playing around with it, and I'd expected some side effects, and I haven't really experienced any because I sleep pretty well most nights, and I've found if I take 300 micrograms of timed release melatonin, I sleep pretty well. If I take 200 milligrams of melatonin in a suppository, I sleep pretty well. And it's not much of a difference the next morning, but I have found that my dreams are much more lucid and interesting, and I'm remembering them more so than when I don't take any melatonin or if I were to do a smaller dose. Fantastic. Let's talk about optimizing your day a little bit more, or anything that we haven't covered, because would you say that increasing your meditation to these 2 45-minute sessions has had a bigger impact than any other biohack? I'm throwing the big question at you.
It's not really comparable because I love my trainings. I love my like X3 bar workouts, interval sprints, and like cold plunges, and I love all of this. But in terms of like mental and spiritual progress, emotional work, and stability, definitely yes. So the question is, what is the goal? What are you trying to achieve? And as developing like a human being into like higher realms of consciousness, you could say that we are developing from third dimension to fifth dimension in terms of consciousness. In that sense, for sure, yes. So it depends on what you're measuring and what you're trying to achieve. But of course, you need to take care of your body because that's the vehicle. But that was kind of an experiment that I found that all the aspects of my mental clarity, self-confidence, emotional balance have improved in that sense. Beautiful.
So if let's imagine that you've got a day where you need to be firing on all cylinders. You have a lot that you need to get done, and just as importantly, you need to be able to create from a place of alignment. What are some of the practices that you integrate to optimize your day?
I think then the morning routine is crucial. So I'm a lion in horoscope, and I'm a son of the sun. So as long as I remember, I've loved the sun. The sun gives me energy. I get that like a download. I get that energy boost from the sun. So every time the sun is out there, I'm out there. So that is the most important thing for me if you think about nature-wise. So every morning, when there is sun, I go outside barefoot, I ground myself, do a little movement, get some sunlight. Actually, today was a pretty good morning. So even though it's been raining like crazy after that, but I got my sunlight in the morning. And of course, you get your circadian rhythm stabilized when you get the natural sunlight. And even though there wasn't sunlight, I like to go outside barefoot just to get the electrons flowing and the grounding effect. And I really need it, and I feel it in my body. And every now and then there's a possibility to take a dive into the ocean or into the lake. So we actually spent 4 days in Ruissalo, which is a city near near the coast, or actually in the coast. So we were in the spa, and I went to swim in the ocean every morning and every evening. So that's the perfect thing for me to do. Also, morning routines are I want to get some vibration on a vibration plate. So I usually brush my teeth in there, having a like 3-minute vibration just to get like wake up the cells.
Nice.
And I do a lot of like hydration, different kind of things on that, like lemon, salt, minerals, electrolytes, some like wheatgrass. I have wheatgrass ice cubes. So they're like fresh, freezed Finnish wheatgrass, and it's absolutely the freshest wheatgrass you can get. So that's
you can buy them.
Yeah, it's a Finnish brand that you can buy them like frozen, these kind of like ice cubes, but they're wheatgrass ice cubes.
That's fantastic. I'm curious, you guys. So being a man of the sun, as am I. That's part of what. There's a lot of beautiful places. We were talking offline about how everything that's taken place these past few months has really inspired me to live closer to nature and pull the trigger on homesteading. And there's some beautiful places in the States. They're too far north for me. I like to be able to go outside and charge up the battery, just about any time of day. Do you optimize your vitamin D levels exclusively with the sun, or do you also take oral vitamin D as someone that lives in Finland?
I do take vitamin D. So I had an experiment. So actually, back a few years back, I used to go to Spain like 5 times per year. So we had these kind of meditation seminars in there, and then I got my sunlight exposure, and then I didn't really take any vitamin D, and it was an optimal level. I had a test that when there was a year I didn't go to Spain, not once, and I didn't take any vitamin D, and the vitamin D wasn't on optimal level. So from there on, I've been taking vitamin D on almost a daily basis, and now it's really on the optimal side. I don't need to take like super high doses, like 100 micrograms. For me, it's perfectly fine. So yeah, I take vitamin D like year in and out. I might have skip like a week or two if I'm like all the time in the sun in the middle of the summer. So
all right,
but
fantastic.
In northern latitudes, you really need this.
Yeah, it's a lot of work to stay in that 50 to 70 plus range just from the sun. Okay, great. So a lot of good stuff there. Morning routine, you're getting barefoot, outside, walking in the grass, you're brushing your teeth on the vibration plate. You've
going to infrared sauna.
Infrared sauna, yeah.
Cold shower. So I take infrared sauna 2 times per day, morning, evening, and a cold shower as well. So,
all right, beautiful. And then this transitions nicely. So you've done your morning routine, and let's talk a little bit about the upgraded workspace. And you guys go way deeper into all these things in the Biohacker's Handbook. So if you guys are, if the listeners are getting value from this, and you guys want more, go to biohackercenter.com. If you pick up the Biohacker's Handbook and you're not thrilled with it, I'll give you a refund, and just send me the book, and I'll give it to somebody else who will want it, because it's packed to the brim.
Send me the book and I'll smack your head.
I'll smack you with it. Get to the chop up. Let's talk about the upgraded workspace. I've seen
upgraded workplace.
Workplace. Yeah. I like that. Why the distinction, out of curiosity? I like yours better, but why?
It could be actually both. So the upgraded workplace is our product. It's our most comprehensive web course. So it's a 40-day course. You have 40 videos, 40 modules every day, a new topic, a new module. So nice. that was like 1.5 years of work put into that, and now it's out in upgradedworkplace.com. But of course, upgraded workspace, you can also talk about that. And it's actually, I'm at the office, even though it's quite late, because of better camera here and lighting and so on. But we have a totally like upgraded workspace. So there is a Nava green wall, which giving like oxygen inside. We have fresh air coming in and out. We have standing desk adjustables. We have different kind of red lights, infrared lights. We have the Neurosonic. We have the infrared sauna, trampolines, everything you can possibly imagine to keep yourself fresh.
and a lot of people have started making the transition to standing desks, even treadmill desks. I've got an EMR Tech Firewave here that I use a lot of the time for ambient lighting, and as it gets later, I'll kill these lights, even though most of them are like the red reptile lights. I'll still kill them as it gets a little bit later. What's happening? Kill the blue light. What parts of your upgraded workplace have you found the most beneficial? If someone's listening and they don't have an unlimited budget, but they've got some money to invest in an upgraded workplace, where would you suggest they start? That's going to pay dividends in increased productivity, mental clarity, enjoyment. Yeah. So is it the foosball table?
yeah, definitely. It's that like free time amusements. Yeah. I would go with the air quality. So for me, that's the number one thing, because that has been shown to dramatically worsen your cognitive performance. But when you have a good air quality in terms of like the air flowing, air purification, and even like greens, these kind of breathable plants, like NASA research plants that are actually purifying the air. I have the Nava wall like in the other room, so I immediately feel like there's kind of a sense of a rainforest in here. So if you think about the rainforest and the ions they produce and the oxygen, so you want the fresh air. So that would be number one thing.
I love it.
There would become the lighting. In which kind of lighting you are. Is it like totally like detrimental to your system, like this halogen, like just simply horrifying lights? So lighting, basic elements, water, air, light,
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I would imagine it also depends on where you are in the world. If you're in a big city, it may not help the situation to open your windows and get some airflow. But if you're in the country, it could be as simple as opening up the windows and screen door and letting some of that air come through. Are you a big air purifier guy, like the Air Doctors or some of these other air purification machines, or do you go with the plants almost exclusively?
Well, we're lucky to live in Finland. This is actually, by the World Health Organization, the purest air in the world, and it's been researched. So even though I'm now in the center of Helsinki, which is the capital of Finland, the air quality is very good. Okay. It is very good. So there's really no problem in terms of that. And when you go into countryside, it's extremely good. Yeah. So I didn't have to go like that far in terms of like really purifying the air, but I totally understand that you can purify the air with different kind of technology, and it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I've got an air doctor that I run 24/7 in the area where I sleep and work, and then I measure the humidity and try to kind of keep that within the optimal range so that it's not allowing mold to proliferate, but at the same time not too dry either. It's a little bit of that Goldilocks effect that all like too well.
30 to 50% is.
Yep. Optimal. Exactly.
Yeah. And also keeping the CO2 levels low.
Great point.
So I measure that in my bedroom. So when it goes too high, you're not getting the same kind of rest and recuperation to your system if you have too high CO2.
Great point.
And one thing would be the volatile organic compounds, or the VOX. So you need to keep these also low.
Is there a way to measure volatile organic compounds in the air?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
No kidding. All right. So probably just doing a search on like VOC meter or volatile organic compound meter on Amazon, and you can pick that up. That's a good tip. I definitely didn't have that. And then, so guys, if you want more of that, upgradedworkplace.com. You've got the 40-day course that you could pick up, and most of your courses and books and your event as well, tickets to the Biohacker Summit, all that stuff, you kind of have it at biohackercenter.com, right?
Yeah, everything there. And the events are biohackersummit.com, biohackersummit.com. And we have a huge international event coming next May in Amsterdam. It's the theme is biohacking the ego. So we go deeper into the realms of the mind and consciousness.
That sounds wonderful. I want to paint a picture for the listeners. This past November in Helsinki at your event at the Biohacker Summit, you guys had quite the party. I want to kind of let them know what my experience was. We were trying to find this place. I went with Wade Lightheart from Bioptimizers and one of the girls on his team, and we pulled up to like a mall. And we're trying to follow the directions to find out where this is. We end up going down through a parking garage, and I'm thinking we're lost. And then all of a sudden we walk into this room. There's like people surfing on an indoor tidal wave. There's this almost like a football field covered in sand. People are playing beach volleyball. I think you were DJing, or if you weren't on yet, you were about to come on. There's a giant like projection screen behind you showing. I've personally done a tiny bit of experimentation with like certain compounds to elevate consciousness and experience non-ordinary states of consciousness. It looked a lot like I was on one of those substances on the screen, but it was beautiful.
Sacred geometry
and moving
created
fractals
by
and things.
Omnigeometry.
Yeah. So what was that?
Omnigeometry. So it's device. You can create your own sacred geometry and get into altered states with that.
Really? I mean, I could tell. I feel like I'm on something, but I'm sober and lucid. And then you guys had saunas everywhere, and it was a blast. We had such a good time. Well, that's some of the things that you get to experience.
That's the after party, yeah.
That's the after party. And then, I think it's especially for people that, now where with the lockdowns and this and that, a lot of people have felt a little bit more lonely and isolated. And if you're really deep into biohacking and health and performance, and you're someone who's like a lifelong learner, if you don't have a lot of those people in your life, you can sometimes feel like an outcast. And this is a beautiful place to come together with other like-minded people who get you, who are on this same path, and to grow those relationships. And these are people that you stay in touch with. So I love what you guys are doing. And if you guys are listening to this podcast and you don't have a lot of people like that in your life, get to Helsinki or Amsterdam this October or May 2021.
Helsinki this October, like 16th and 17th of October. There are a lot of countries that can actually travel here without any quarantine. So you're most welcome. I think we have people coming from 30 different countries. So Finland is really great place to be in terms of like this pandemic. So we are very, very, very low, and this is quite safe place to be. And the event is going to be amazing with that after party as well, actually in the same place.
Nice.
If you're coming to Helsinki. And of course Amsterdam is going to be a totally on its own. It's Amsterdam, and we have already checked the places. It was actually supposed to happen this May this year, but it got moved to next year. But the places are also pretty awesome there.
Fantastic. And in October, we've got becoming a resilient being is
that's
the theme. And then Amsterdam in May is biohacking the ego.
Yes.
And you guys can learn more about that at biohackersummit.com or biohackercenter.com. Last little bit to kind of land this plane and bring it home. Let's talk about biohacking the brain and nutrition. What are some of the practices that you have found and kept in your life and routine for keeping your mind sharp?
This is interesting because one of the best things has been not eating. So it's of course it's about what you eat, but it's also what you don't eat and how long a time you don't eat. So for me, when I discovered about 3 years ago intermittent fasting, that was a game changer totally. So I had problems. I've had kind of like problems with my gut and it's kind of like some flatulence and discomfort. And a little bit of bloating and, this subtle stuff. But when I reduced the time for eating, the time window for eating, that changed everything. So it gave the rest, it gave the time for the autophagy to activate, to the gut renew itself. So I just want to mention that at first. But we are about to come out with Biohacker's Brain Nutrition book. It's going to be an ebook about 350 pages, 800 references. So the book is basically done. It's not being edited or like graphically designed yet. So we hope that it's come out by the end of this year. We go very deep into the gut-brain microbiota axis, like very, very deep. So I haven't seen any like popular book written that deeply about that subject. But of course, we go into the actual foods. So we have a section there going through like top 10 brain foods. So I can actually mention a few of these. Eggs, number one, especially the yolk. Extra virgin olive oil, a lot of good stuff. Raw and dark chocolate, turmeric, leafy greens and wild greens, avocados, omega-3s like this fatty fish, algae, fish roe, and so on, organ meats. And I think there was something else, but this is like bilberries for sure. Bilberries or blueberries, but bilberries even the better, the low bush blueberries. So a lot of really interesting nerd stuff on there. Like if you really want to geek out, like bilberries, there's a lot of stuff in there. But also like supplemental nootropics. So we go a bit deeper into nootropics than we went in the Biohacker's Handbook, and different kind of methods that you can actually make your brain work better. So I really like nootropics. I don't like pharmaceutical nootropics because there's always the risk for side effects. But for example, lion's mane, caffeine plus theanine, and these kind of things. So yeah, a lot of great stuff in that book also.
Yeah, that I feel the same way about the pharmaceutical nootropics. It's a little bit of like, you're borrowing energy from the future. I feel like, and in my opinion, it may be a little bit delayed, but at some point in the future, Mother Nature comes to collect the toll, for borrowing it in advance. Is there I think we're familiar, and some of our listeners are familiar with Qualia, which is like a nootropic that combines.
Love it.
Yeah, is that something that you use? About
2 years or 1.5 years now, but I use only one capsule. So the basic dose is like 7 capsules. So I think it's way too much for quite sensitive like physiology in person as what I have. So 1 to 2 capsules does the trick for me. And then in that way, you also, that big bottle, it lasts quite a bit.
It does last long. It's a lot less expensive that way. Yeah,
but it's great stuff. I absolutely love Qualia Mind.
Yeah, beautiful. To kind of bring everything together, preventative healthcare and does anything come to mind that we haven't mentioned that our listeners could and should start doing to not live to be 150, but more, I believe more importantly, to avoid the leading causes of death, premature death. So cancer, heart disease, neurodegenerative disease. Is there something that comes to mind that we haven't discussed that our listeners can integrate into their life to help them avoid these leading causes of premature death?
So on the basis of my extensive research, and I read about 2,000 papers a year, so that's quite a bit of science. Yeah. So there are three things you want to keep in control. Number one is silent inflammation, so you want to keep it low. Number two is oxidative stress. You want to keep that in check, but not like too low. So you need some amount of oxidative stress. So you need a good balance in that. And the number three is insulin control, insulin management, insulin sensitivity, and blood sugar control. If you have these three elements in check, you're quite certainly going to live a long time. You are going to avoid chronic diseases as long as possible.
I love it. Now, for someone that wants to dive a little bit into their blood work and get a sense for where they're at, like I think most of our listeners are aware that if their body hurts and their joints ache, that could be a sign of inflammation. It could also be a sign of autoimmunity, sure. which may be one and the same. Is that, do you turn to high sensitivity C-reactive protein for that? Yeah. Or is there another blood marker that you rely on?
That's number one, because it's so easy to take. It's so widely documented in different kind of studies. But of course, you can measure the white blood cell count. There are certain levels that are optimal in terms of silent inflammation, platelet count. So I've done research on that. So not too high, not too low. Interleukin 6 is a good marker in that sense too. But just measuring the highly sensitive CRP is the perfect way to start in terms of silent inflammation.
Nice. And then insulin sensitivity, I'm jumping because I've got some ideas and I don't have one for oxidative stress. So it's coming. For insulin sensitivity, is it fasting glucose and hemoglobin A1C, or is there something else that you're looking at these days?
Yeah, fasting glucose, HbA1c, fasting insulin, and you can count this HOMA-IR. HOMA-IR. So it's homeostatic model for insulin resistance, and it's a formula where you need the fasting glucose and the fasting insulin, and you can count from there what is the insulin sensitivity. So that's something I would also use, and of course. Continuous blood glucose monitoring systems, if you're able to get these from your doctor, would be just amazing. So you can quantify everything you do and you get these continuous measurements. I used that 1.5 years ago in a period of 2 weeks, and I did all kinds of things. And the number one thing that elevated my blood sugar was very hot sauna and cold.
Really?
So nothing I ate could really elevate my blood sugar that much. So that was the key. So because of gluconeogenesis and the release of glucose to bloodstream because of this temporary stressors.
Interesting. Did that change your behaviors or practices in any way? Those 2 weeks and what you learned? No, right?
No, not that thing. It was just interesting to see that, for example, in the morning time, my blood glucose rise when I was in the infrared sauna, and then it bent back down. My blood glucose rise with cortisol. Like in the morning time, you have a higher cortisol, so you tend to have a little bit higher blood glucose, and then it kind of elevated a little bit towards the evening. So that was also very interesting. And what dropped the blood glucose the most was this longevity tea. I don't know if you've ever heard about Ron T. Garner's longevity tea.
Yeah, it's different kind of herbs. Gymnastema, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was like my blood glucose was already pretty low. Like I think it was like 4.9 millimoles per liter, and it dropped into 2.9. And I totally felt that. Like it was a very dramatic drop, and I was like, "Whoa, what's happening?" So I went to like kind of like hypoglycemic state.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
I realized, okay, I'm not gonna drink this unless I've eaten a big meal and some carbs.
Interesting.
So for that, yeah.
That tea is fantastic. I had some in Florida, and then I packed it up when I moved, and I haven't reordered it or unpacked it, but that is great stuff.
Yeah.
Last one, oxidative stress. What's the marker you turn to and use to measure that?
I love the system called FRAS. It's FRAS. So it's a specific system that's measuring your oxidative stress levels, like D-ROMS. So I don't know. It's D/ROMS. So reactive oxygen, like intermediates or something like that.
Not to be confused with DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. This is D-ROMS.
D-ROMS, and the other thing is it measures PAT, which is plasma antioxidant capacity, but it's PAT.
Is that a blood test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually blood test. You get the results in 15 minutes.
Wow.
Free radical system, FRAS.
I'll have to check that out. I've never heard of it. That's a nice little nugget there.
Of course, you have more specific markers. I don't actually recall that because they were so cryptic, the names, like some like H/ODH.
Yeah. Well, I think that's enough good stuff for people to run with. FRAS, and that can help measure your oxidative stress levels. You can order it at home and take it at home.
Pretty expensive, I would say. So I'd better find a lab that actually has the device. So it's but awesome. You can order it home if you are like loaded.
Good stuff. Guys, go to biohackercenter.com, pick up the Biohacker Handbook. If you don't like it, send it to me and I'll give you a refund. I know you'll like it. And I'm not making any money on the thing. It's just fantastic. And if you're a listener to this podcast, you need to have this as a reference guide in your home. For the events, go to biohackersummit.com, and then everything else that we talked about with, your upgraded workplace, that's at upgradedworkplace.com. And Olli and Timu and the team are constantly coming out with great new stuff. They've got their brain book coming out, as he mentioned. So stay in the loop for that. Olli, what is there anything that you want to leave the listeners with? Any words of encouragement? Anything that we haven't shared? Anything that you think the world needs to hear right now?
I would say that when you learn to respect every moment and you learn to really enjoy every moment in your life, it doesn't matter whether you die tomorrow or in 50 years. So that's the ultimate key to life, to be like fully present, to really fully enjoy every moment, whether it's downs or highs or lows or whatever. Ultimate presence. That's the key to everything. So that's my advice. And when you go closer and closer to that, and you find these moments that you are in the flow, you're kind of losing time, and you're losing yourself, and you suddenly realize, where was I? Those are the moments.
Great advice. Thank you for making the sacrifice and hanging out and sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And I appreciate you, man. And I'm looking forward to us being able to see one another in person.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully next year. And thanks for your presence and your smile, and just the overall great human being. So thank you also.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
What's up, guys? Anthony here, and thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Biohacking Secrets Show. One of my favorite things to do is helping men and women like you feel what it's like with the body you've always wanted and all-day energy that starts the moment you wake up and doesn't quit. Over the past decade, we've created a proprietary health assessment that helps me to identify the unique toxicities and deficiencies that may be holding you back from the life that you deserve. And what we've discovered in doing this with now thousands of CEOs, executives, professional athletes, businessmen, Hollywood celebrities, and entrepreneurs is that there's always room for improvement and optimization. Whether you're already performing at a high level or you have that feeling inside your heart that you're capable of more, the single fastest way to unlock your potential is to upgrade your mind and your body. And there's no program on earth that does that faster or to a greater magnitude than our one-on-one consulting program at www.biohackingsecrets.com/coaching. We start with our proprietary health assessment that screens you for vitamin deficiencies like A, D, magnesium, iron, etc., high cholesterol and heart disease, high blood pressure, digestive disorders, hidden infections like Lyme, Epstein-Barr, parasites, SIBO, Candida, and more that can just drain your energy in the background, especially if you don't know about them. Anxiety, depression, and cognitive disorders, autoimmune disease, adrenal fatigue, thyroid issues, mold toxicity, heavy metals, environmental toxins, and other genetic risk factors like MTHFR, APOE status, your glutathione production, and many more. We even recommend the specific tests that I use with my one-on-one clients if they're relevant for you in figuring out your biological age and identifying those key areas and opportunities that can take your life to the next level. From there, we create a customized game plan along with a personalized supplement protocol to help you optimize your weight and energy at the cellular level. And for our platinum clients, we even include a personalized workshop with me in Delray Beach, Florida. Most of the year, this program's full with a waiting list, but we just had a couple spots open up and I wanted to offer them to the listeners of the Biohacking Secrets show first. So if you're interested in seeing what it might look like for us to work together, head over to www.biohackingsecrets.com/coaching. That's www.biohackingsecrets.com/COACHING and fill out the short application form. If you're pre-approved, you'll be given the opportunity to book a time to connect with someone on our team and see if it's a fit. Thank you so much for being a part of this community, and I look forward to potentially going on this journey together.